All right. Today we are going to be doing ranking every NFL team going into the 2026-2027 season. Now I'm going to be as fair as possible and try and give all these teams a good ranking or a decent ranking and not just be like, oh, I hate the Packers, so they're going to be a mediocre team. I'm going to be doing it by division. So we're going to start with NFC and then go to AFC. All right, we're going to be starting with the NFC North, of course, because why wouldn't we? Of course, we'll do the Vikings first. And the Vikings are definitely going to be, I'll put them as playoff team. So, see, I could be biased, but I'm going to put them as a playoff team. I definitely think with Kyler Murray, they could be Super Bowl contenders, but I'll be fair and just say they're a playoff team for now. For obvious reasons like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Kyler Murray, of course, we're going to be at least a playoff team. Guarantee it. I'll shave my head if the Vikings don't make the playoffs. All right, next up, the Packers. The Packers have been the 7-seed merchants the last, 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to put them into potential wild card again because without Micah to start the season, I definitely think they're going to be either fighting for that 7 seed again or they're just going to miss the playoffs entirely. All right, the Chicago Bears. I definitely think they're going to be a playoff team. Caleb Williams got in the playoffs last season. I don't see them doing any better, but I also don't see them doing any worse. Actually, thinking about that, I'm going to put them also as potential wild cards. I just can't see them doing any better than last year, but I don't think they'll be bad. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave my potential wild card. The Detroit Lions. I'm going to put as this one's tough because I don't want people to think I'm being biased because I'm a Vikings fan. I'm going to put them as a playoff team. I do think they're a playoff team. I just think roster-wise, they're the most comparable to the Vikings in terms of wide receivers, running backs, and everything. And Jared Goff isn't bad, so I will actually say the Lions and Vikings are playoff teams. Packers and Bears will be wild cards. They can all make it to the playoffs, though. That would not surprise me one bit. All right, next division, we'll do NFC West. I'm going to start out with the Rams. As much as it pains me to say, I will say the Rams are a Super Bowl contender because they were a couple plays away from being in the Super Bowl last year, and they got Myles Garrett, and Matt Stafford is good. I will put them as Super Bowl contenders. The Arizona Cardinals, I like Jeremiah Love. I think they're going to build something good, but they're still just going to be mediocre at best. I don't really see who they could even have to even have a chance. Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't done anything yet. I draft him every year hoping he does, but he does nothing. I'm going to leave him as mediocre at best. The 49ers, they're kind of always in that same area too of making the playoffs. I'm going to say they haven't really done much this offseason. I'm going to say they're missing the playoffs. I'm going to say barely, but I'm going to say they're missing them. They haven't really done anything. Their roster's the same. They had their Super Bowl window, but it's pretty much closed. So I'm going to say missing the playoffs. And then after the offseason, they're probably going to start just rebuilding again, getting rid of everybody. And the Seattle Seahawks, even though I'm salty that Sam Darnold left and went on to win the Super Bowl the next year, and the Super Bowl hangover is very real, they're still a playoff team. There's no reason for them not to be. They have all the pieces. They did lose Kenneth Walker. Other than that, I don't see why they couldn't make the playoffs again. All right, NFC South, Falcons. I actually have to think about who is on the Falcons right now besides Bijan Robinson. Who's their quarterback? Oh, Tua. Yeah, they're missing. They're missing the playoffs. I'm sorry. Bijan can't carry that whole entire team. Tua's trash. That's all there is to say. Buccaneers. I like Baker, and he has to play with a chip on his shoulder this year since they didn't give him the deal he wanted. But man, Baker's always teetering on this. Somebody's got to make it. Somebody's got to do it, though, right? I'm still going to say potential wild card. It's the same with Baker. I like Baker. I think he's good, but for some reason, whatever team he's on, he either starts hot and fizzles out. So I'm going to say potential wild cards, but it wouldn't surprise me if they made the playoffs. The Saints, I feel like they could be a sneaky good team. I like the head coach. Are they still just going with Tyler Shough? Is that still what they're doing? He's not bad. So I actually could see them. So I'm going to put them at young but intriguing just because I think they could be a sneaky good team, but I can't say they'd be anything better than that for now. And call me crazy, but I'm actually going to say that Bryce Young finally takes that next step and that they are finally a playoff team. It sounds crazy, but I think Bryce Young could finally, either Bryce Young plays well and they make the playoffs this year, or he's gone. So I don't think they really have a choice, and somebody in that division needs to step up. And if it's not going to be the Buccaneers, I do think it's going to be the Panthers. And finally, on the NFC side, the NFC East. We'll start with the Eagles. Devontae Smith's pretty good. They still have Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, while I don't think is that good, I'm not going to say he's bad. He did win a Super Bowl, so I really can't say anything. So I will put them as a playoff team still, but they might just be the same level. I don't really think much has changed over there. All right, the Cowboys. And even though I can't stand Dak Prescott, I think he is the most overrated quarterback. I know Cowboys fans are going to be so mad about that. But that dude is so overrated. He handicaps the team by taking all this money, doesn't ever do anything. But with that being said, I will say that they've had a bunch of bad years, and finally this year they probably will make the playoffs. So I will put them on a playoff team, but it will not surprise me if Dak shits the bed again. Also, they got a lot of good capital from Micah Parsons, and they did bring in a bunch of guys. So I will put them at that playoff spot. The Giants, I do actually like Jackson Dart. And I do think they're going to be better than they were last year. And if Cam Scatteroo comes back and he does good, I think they're going to be pretty good. But I'm still going to put them on that fringe. I think they'll be close. I'm going to put them as missing the playoffs, but it's going to be close. I like them. I think they're going to be a good team. Giants fans, I actually think you have a good quarterback and you don't really have to worry. So I'm going to say they go 9-8. Barely miss it. The Commanders. Does Jaden Daniels finally go back to how he was? I don't know. I hope so. I think Dan Quinn is a good head coach. I'll put him out as potential wild cards. We've seen that they can get there. We've seen him go to the NFC Championship a couple years ago, so I'm going to put him as potential wild cards. Definitely is dependent on how Jaden Daniels plays. So, all right, moving on to the AFC side. Let's do AFC West, the Raiders. I'm trying not to be biased because my mom's a huge Raiders fan and my best friend is also a Raiders fan. But we all know how the Raiders every year still won their division in over 20 years. I like Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is great, so I want him to do well. Besides that, they still don't really have any good wide receivers or no wide receiver ones really. Man, this is tough. Every team Kirk Cousins is a part of always is in that 9-8 or better range or middle of the road or fringe playoff. So I'm going to put them as potential wild cards. I would like to see them do well. I would like to see them actually win their division for once, but it is tough when you have Herbert and Mahomes in the same division. But I will put them as potential wild cards. It's been a minute since they've gotten to the playoffs, so hopefully they can do it. All right, the Chargers and Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks. He does struggle in the playoffs every year, but that's the thing. He still gets there every year. So he's going to be a playoff team. They are still going to be a playoff team. Does he get bounced again? Yes, if that's the case, it might be time for the Chargers to trade him. Not because he's bad, but because maybe a change of scenery will be needed at that point. The Broncos. That's tough. Bo Nix 1 game away from going to the AFC Championship. Oh, man. I actually like Bo Nix. When we drafted J.J. McCarthy, I wanted Bo Nix. But I was also on that hype train for J.J. McCarthy at the time, even though I knew Bo Nix was the better pick. I don't know. Sean Payton, he's a good coach, even though he's a douchebag. Sean Payton is a good coach. I just don't know if he can keep this up with Bo Nix or not. Bo Nix is one of those guys, too, where it's like they're good, not for any particular reason, but they just get the job done. I'm going to put them as potential wild card also, just because I think it's going to be hard to replicate what they did last year, and I think Bo Nix will be fine, but I'm going to keep them there for now. The Chiefs, assuming Patrick Mahomes is healthy, I think it's pretty obvious they'll go back to the playoffs, so I'm going to put them in. Actually, you know what? If Mahomes goes back to how he was, even though I would hate to see them in another Super Bowl or even get close to it, I had to put them in Super Bowl contenders. It would just be dumb not to. That'd be like saying Brady didn't have a chance. All right, let's do AFC North. I think this one will be tough I'd say the AFC North and the NFC North are very similar, where every team is pretty good and can make it to the playoffs. So start with the Ravens. You know what? I think Lamar Jackson finally takes that next step. So I'm actually going to put them as Super Bowl contenders. I think he's finally going to just ascend, maybe have another MVP season, and finally get over the hump. The Bengals. I'm going to put his playoff team, with Joe Burrow. If he doesn't get hurt this year, if he gets hurt again, same thing. It might be just time to move on. Not because he's bad, but because a change of scenery might be nice. He might get sick of that defense. And if that coach is still there and if they don't win at least a playoff game and that coach is still there, that dude has the best job security in the world. As much as it sucks to say for Browns fans, it's mediocre at best. You're battling with Deshaun Watson still and Shadur Sanders, who I actually think could be good. But having like 6 of those quarterbacks that you guys drafted and can't decide, it's just hurting the team more. Just throwing your hands up and say whoever wants the job, take it. It's not helping. If it was me, I would get rid of everybody else. If it was me, I would just cut my ties with Deshaun Watson, build around Shador, see if there's something there. If not, move on again. And the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers' last ride. However, he hasn't really looked that good the past couple of years. And so I'm going to say potential wild card. I could see it with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, but it's not 2010. I don't think they'll be bad. So I'm just going to keep them stagnant there at the wild card spot. All right, the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to put them as young and intriguing because them rebuilding, surprisingly enough, I actually think Malik Willis is a really good quarterback, and I think they'll do pretty well. I don't think they'll get to the playoffs, and I don't think they'll get that close, but I think they'll be a lot better than people expect, and they're young, and they basically had to tear it down last year, and I don't blame them. The Bills, Same thing. I'm going to put him as a playoff team. My thing with Josh Allen is he's really good. I do think he's good. I just think he's so overhyped. I think he gets zero criticism when they lose, and he gets all the praise when they win. And yet they've never gotten over the hump, and there's always an excuse for him. So I'm going to say playoff. I'm going to say playoff team again. And if I'm being honest, I just don't see any way that the Bills ever go to the Super Bowl. And the Patriots, Drake May, went to the Super Bowl. People said he was carried. It's kind of tough. I could see both arguments. I think Drake May is pretty good. I think he's probably in that Bo Nix level, maybe a little bit better. But at the same time, it's going to be tough to replicate that. There might be that Super Bowl hangover also. They might just go way down. But I'm going to put them as potential wild cards because I can definitely see them at least getting to that same level of like being neck and neck with the Bills, basically. And both of the Bills and Patriots could flip. The Jets, I honestly forgot about. They're number one pick contention again. I mean, I think that coach gets fired. They don't have anybody. They got Geno Smith. Like, what are they doing? It would be hilarious if they were somehow like a sneaky team, like what Geno Smith did with the Seahawks when they were in that same position. But as of right now, they're number one pick contention. I don't think anybody's going to really fight me on that one. And finally, the AFC South. The Texans, great defense. Actually, unbelievable defense. So that alone should get them to the playoff team. But CJ Stroud has just been struggling since that year that he did great. I'm going to still put them as potential wild card team. But if CJ Stroud could fix his issues, honestly, they could be Super Bowl contenders. They could easily be in that area. That defense is Super Bowl contender level. All right, the Titans, does Cam Ward ascend? I'm going to say they're missing the playoffs again. I think Cam Ward will do a little bit better, but I just really don't see anything right now in Tennessee that would be like, oh, this is the team, or they're going to do something this time. The Colts, I mean, with Daniel Jones being back and getting Sauce Gardner last year, and then being what were they, 9-2 or something, and then went 9-7, or 7-2 and went 9-7, or 7-2 and went 7-9? I don't know. Either way, if they can replicate that, so I'm going to put them as potential wild cards. So they're definitely that middle ground. Finally, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like Trevor Lawrence. I actually like the Jaguars. I think they normally have a pretty decent and solid team. This is tough. I don't know if I should just say straight up playoff. I'm going to put them also as potential wild card. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's like right there, but he's not. The rest of the team is decent. They're nothing crazy. So that is how I see the NFL going this year. And if I had to pick one Super Bowl favorite or two Super Bowl favorites out of this unbiasedly, man, this is tough. I would hate this. I would definitely hate this to be the case. But it would be the Rams and Kansas City. I would hate that. I don't want to see that. If that happens again, I will just not even watch football. I'll be done with football for a while. But if I had to pick two, that would be the two. Obviously, I wish it's the Vikings. Of course I do. Do I think the Vikings can make it there? Absolutely. But we got to see how things go. Anyway, man, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to keep these going.